Hello and welcome to the presentation for fiscal year 2018 results of Mutandis. My name is Adil Douiri and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the group. The key message is that 2018 was a very good year for Mutandis and all our business lines. It is the 6th consecutive increase of revenues and EBITDA for our company. If we look at the detergents showed a steady and sustained growth in 2018 as we showed a successful switch from the bulk format to traditional format to small packages like half a kilo and a kilo, and that was due to the ban of plastic bags and was initially a constraint for us, but we successfully executed it. As for the seafood business, 2018 showed the initial results of the transformation strategy, which is to grow the margin with stable volumes of transformed fish. And we indeed had good initial results of the new product, new markets, higher margin. If we look at the bottle and cap business, volumes were much higher for this year, and the margins were good, if not a little bit better than last year too. Fruit juice is the fourth and most recent business in Mutandis, as you may recall, and 2018 was really the first year of the relaunch of the brand, and in May we did relaunch the Marrakesh brand itself through 3 new ranges of products, and then by September we launched a second sister brand called Maxi Pulp by Marrakesh, which is a PET packaging, by the way. The first one was the Tetrapak, and that was launched in September 2018. The PET is cheaper than a Tetrapak. And obviously 2018 was a very noticeable year for our company. It was at the same time our 10th anniversary, and it was the year of the IPO, which was successfully executed by late November and early December of 2018. If we now move to financial messages for 2018, as I said, it was a fantastic year of growth for us. Revenues were at record levels in our history, and growth was there for all product ranges. Revenues reached 1,368 million dirhams, up about 8% compared to 2017. Remember, it's the first full year of the fruit juice business in Mutandis, which is still small but fast growing. EBITDA was record in our history and the 6th consecutive year of growth of EBITDA in our company. We managed to improve our margin on variable costs and keep more or less constant the margin on raw material despite the noticeable increase in some of the raw material prices, those linked to oil, for example, and to steel. We showed a satisfactory control of fixed costs, and at the end we had a good operating leverage, meaning that if revenues grew 8%, EBITDA grew 14%, and margin on variable costs grew 12%. So EBITDA reached 188 million dirham, up 14% versus 2017. At the end, since we had stable amortization and slightly lower financial expense due to better management of the working capital, our net income, excluding non-recurring items, is up 40% versus 2017 and reaching 78 million dirhams, which is also a record level for Mutandis. Net income, including non-recurring items, is also up 40%, 41% actually, even 42%, 41.6%, and reach 71 million dirham, i.e. we have about 7 million of non-recurring items, 7 million non-recurring expenses. If we look at the balance sheet and the cash flow statement, the net debt is at the end of the year is much lower due to the IPO. So net debt is only 21% of total capital, whereas it traditionally at Mutandis was 39 to 40%, as was the case in the year before, in December 2017. So the sharp decrease in the debt is obviously due to the capital increase of the IPO, but also, as I mentioned earlier, to a better management of the working capital needs by some of our businesses. Looking at the cash flow statement, the cash flow from operations is up 40%, so basically same rise as the net income, and has reached for 2018 reached 125 million dirham. We will propose to the general shareholder meeting, which will be held in April 1st, we will propose a dividend of 7.5 dirhams per share, which is the same level as that of last year and the year before. And that dividend will be paid also to all new shares issued in December during IPO. So 7.5 dirham per share as dividend to be paid in May, if voted by the shareholder assembly. Moving to slide 8, the snapshot of the financial indicators as a summary. Revenues up 8% to 1,368 million dirham. EBITDA up 14% to 188 million dirham. Net income recurring up 40% to 78 million dirham. And cash flow from operations up 42% at 125 million dirham. So really a good year for Mutandis. If we look at the breakdown of our consolidated revenues, you can see that the growth, the 8% growth in revenue, it's 7.8% if you want to be precise, is due to detergents for 34 million dirham increase, to seafood 32 million dirham increase, so the same amount as the growth in detergents in dirham terms, 20 million dirhams in growth coming from the bottle and cap business, and a 12 million increase coming from the fruit juice, which at the end gives us the about 100 million dirham increase in revenues. If you look at the breakdown, it's kind of stable with about 41% from detergent, 37% from the seafood business, 18% from the bottle and cap business, and only 4% for the last line of business that we just started, which is the fruit juice. Looking now in slide 10 at EBITDA and consolidated EBITDA. EBITDA growth, as I said, was 14%, moving from 165 to 188 million dirham. Basically, revenues are up 100 million dirham, but variable costs are also up 62 million dirham. So if you make the difference, you have about 43 million dirham in additional margin on variable cost. So it's up 12% versus 2017, the margin on variable cost. We're gaining 40 million dirham from the margin on variable cost, but we're losing 19 million dirham from the increase in fixed cost. And at the end, we are gaining the 23 million dirham or something between 2017 and 2018. So basically, it's a slight margin expansion in margin on variable cost, since revenues are up 8%, but margin on variable cost is up 12%. So we have a better margin on variable cost, but then we have a slight increase in fixed costs of 19 million, and at the end, EBITDA is growing at 14%, which is better than the 12% of the margin on variable cost, which is itself is better than the 8% growth of revenues. Looking at the breakdown of EBITDA by line of business, detergent had almost flat EBITDA year, moving from 82 to 84 million dirham. I'll explain why. Seafood had a sharp increase, moving from 52 to 69 million in EBITDA, which is the margin enlargement I was mentioning previously. The bottle and cap business had a very good year, with the EBITDA moving from 41 to 44 million dirham. You may recall that the bottle and cap that we call food bottle business is a very stable, predictable, high cash flow business. So almost 10% growth in EBITDA is a good rate of growth for that specific business. And the fruit juice is still very tiny, profitable but tiny, moving from 2 million to 3 million in EBITDA. At the end, 2 plus 17 plus 3 plus 1 is the 23 million dirham in additional EBITDA. Zoom in to each of the lines of business to explain basically how the year went, and to give a little bit more details. The detergent business saw a 6% growth in revenue. Actually, the growth was much higher for our own brands. It was close to 10%. But the growth of a client for whom we do private label was negative, obviously. He had trouble with his own brand. And so all in all, revenues are up 6%. You may recall that we mostly produce our own brands. More than 90% of revenues are own brand, and less than 10% of revenues are third-party brands. EBITDA was up 2% only at 84 versus 82, and that's due to two things. First, we had to invest heavily in the fleet and what we call the route to market, which is the distribution, the sales force basically selling in trucks, in mobile units, and going from shop to shop, small convenience stores. As you know, it's a key weapon in Morocco to be in the consumer good business, and it really is kind of a moat that is protecting us. It's a barrier to entry in that business. So we kept on investing in increasing and strengthening the fleet and the distribution, which will show in future revenues for the coming years, but also was a needed factor because of the addition of the fruit juice business in the fleet. When we added the fruit juice to the detergents in the same trucks, with the same sales force, going to the same shops, we had to add additional selling units, i.e. additional trucks, because the time spent per store naturally increased in trying to sell our products from the truck to the small mom and pop convenience store. So we had extra costs, but that will not happen every year. I would say that's a 2018 factor, and we will now try and focus on increasing the productivity of the fleet, the productivity of the sales force, selecting the shops we visit. You may recall that we visit about 35,000 shops in Morocco out of a universe which is estimated at 70,000 small mom and pop convenience stores. The second reason why EBITDA grew only 2% when revenues grew 6% is that we had to shift from, we are really the leader in Morocco of the bulk format for the hand powder. The bulk format is a format where the lady can buy whatever quantity she wants from the store, and then the guy takes it from a 10 kilo big bag and puts it in a very small plastic bag at the size required by the customer. So that bulk selling started suffering when the government put a ban on the small plastic bags that the shop owners used to put hand powder at the required format by the customer. And we had to make sure we did not lose market share by shifting our production basically and our sales effort to the traditional 500 grams and 1 kilogram format, i.e. not the 10 kilo big bag bulk format, which was again suffering from the ban on small plastic bags. And we had to spend a little bit more than usual in marketing costs, mostly trade marketing, i.e. marketing with the shop owner, not consumer marketing. We had to spend a little bit more to make sure we could put our 500 gram and 1 kilo in the network distribution, which we did more than successfully, because all in all the hand powder grew by more than 10%, which is way more than the Moroccan market. Meaning, yes, we paid more, so we have an EBITDA that did not grow as much as revenues, but at least we successfully managed the shifts, and volumes are much higher now, and we're less dependent on the 10 kilo big bag, the big format. If I move now to the seafood business, which is basically canned sardines and mackerel, we had a 7% increase in revenues, but a 33% EBITDA change. If you may recall, for those of you who are familiar with Mutandis and who have met with us either during the roadshow or in the one-on-one conference in Marrakesh, you may recall that the strategy in the seafood business is totally different, as it is not focusing on volume, but it is focusing on margin. And to focus on margin change, you have to focus on product change and country change. It's a completely global business. It's not a Moroccan business, it's a global business, as Morocco is the world leader in sardine cans. The world leader. So it's a global business for us, and our strategy is to shift from the entry-level price sold in some African countries to more sophisticated products worldwide, and also to select in between the African countries those where our brand, which is Annie, has pricing power and flexibility, because the brand is strong, has been there for 40 years, 50 years, and we can have more flexibility on the price and increase the price and even introduce new higher added value products, both in Africa, some selected countries, and especially in Europe, and trying to do so also in America, in the US. So it's initial results, and those initial results are basically coming from two things. First of all, the early days of the shift from low-end products sold in Africa to higher-end products, as I just mentioned, but also, to be completely transparent, it's also a much better management of the supply chain. You may recall that we took day-to-day management of this business only in 2016, so that's 2 years ago, 2016, 17 and 18, 3 years, and when we took day-to-day management, that's when we acquired 100% of that business. We completely changed the supply chain and the way we purchase the fish itself. Also increased a lot manufacturing productivity. So EBITDA for 2018 is the gain. The 33% increase comes really from both. It's coming on one side from better purchases, better prices, a better supply chain, all in all, a better productivity in the factories. You may recall that we have 5 factories, and also the shift in channels and products. The food bottle, or the bottle and cap business, had a better year than was expected, frankly, as volumes were up 7%, revenues were up 9%, but don't look at revenues, because most of our contracts are indexed on PET prices, so that we do not bear the volatility of oil prices, and we pass it to the bottler himself. To Coke and the mineral water companies and the fruit juice companies and the edible oil companies, who are our partners in this business. Okay, so revenues are not really a really significant indicator. It's up 9% though, but volumes are up 7%, i.e. the number of bottles and caps is up about 7%. EBITDA is up 8%, moving from 40.6 to 43.8 million dirham. So mineral water was the key behind that. The CSDs, carbonated soft drinks, Cokes, and competition of Coke in Morocco had a somewhat okay year, but nothing special. The fruit juice business, all in all, not ours, but the fruit juice business in Morocco, competing brand of Marrakesh, had a negative year. Was not a very good year, so we didn't have very good drag for volumes on that specific business. But water was fantastic for us, and especially the brands we are teaming up with had market share gain. Had a lot of market share gain, so volumes that we had to produce ourselves were sharply up in 2018. Looking now at fruit juice, so as I said, the first full year of Marrakesh at Mutandis. Marrakesh is the historical brand we acquired in March of 2017. It's a brand of our childhood for us who are as old as me in Morocco, and it's a brand that was a little bit mismanaged for decades, so it declined down to 5, 6, 7% market share, competing against 3 other competitors in Morocco, Coke, and 2 Moroccan local players. So it's the first full year, and we had to redo everything. The product, the recipes, the flavors, the marketing studies, consumer behavior and attitudes, segmentation of the consumer, selection of the segments that we wanted, innovation, R&D for new recipes for each segment, pricing, packaging, new design, basically the whole thing. And the result was shown to the market and relaunched through our sales force, through our trucks, through our fleet, the one that used to sell the detergent business in Morocco, in May of 2018. That was a Tetrapak format. And Tetrapak in Morocco is more expensive and is perceived as more upscale than the PET drink, PET format. Initial results for the 3 Tetrapak product ranges are good. There could have been even better, but they're good. They're at good level. And the PET is a bit too early to assess, because really we started the PET in September, October, so at the end of the year. And we will have a better picture of PET in 2019. PET is the low price, low percentage of real fruit product. Okay, it's a little bit cheaper and has less, is about 10% fruit. We have an intermediate product which is 50% fruit, and we have a premium which is 100% pure fruit juice, no added sugar, nothing added to the product, but that's small volumes and more sophisticated for a smaller number of customers. Material costs were about flat in the fruit juice business, and all in all EBITDA moved from 1.5 million to 3 million, so it's a very small figure, and revenues grew from 43 to 55 million. Our ambition there is to double or triple that business in the next 4 years and try and reach a 15% market share, starting from about 7% now. Sorry. If you look at cash flow and net debt in slide 16, you can see that net debt as of December 31st, 2017 was minus 492 million dirham. As you may recall, that meant a gearing or a financial leverage of 39% of total capital, as you can see in the right of the slide. If we take that net debt at the beginning of 2018 and add the cash flow from operation, which was 125 million dirham, then deduct the capex, which was 59 million dirham, deduct the dividend, which was 51 million dirham paid in May of 2018, and then add the capital increase from the IPO, which was 214 million dirham, then the net debt becomes minus 264 million dirham at the end of 2018, which is like 15 days after the IPO. The first day of trading was December 18th, if you may recall. Okay, so the leverage is 20% now of total capital in debt, and that's not a typical leverage for us. We still have now to invest the money that we got at the IPO and leverage it. And as you may recall, for those of you who met us during the roadshow, we have 3 plants to invest in and to build. One in the hygiene business, household product. Second one will be in the seafood product, and the third one will be in the bottle and cap business. Some guidance from 2019. You know, I want to be very careful. This is the first year we are a listed company, so we're trying to be as careful as possible, but give you as much guidance as we can. The way we see 2019, it should be again an up year in terms of revenues and EBITDA, and an up year in terms of net income, though maybe at a lesser growth, obviously, than the 40% net income growth that we had in 2018. We're not sure we can repeat that performance. So revenues could grow something between 6 to 8%, with contribution from the detergents, who, as you may recall, are in a steady growth phase. And the more we invest in the fleet distribution sales force, the more we reap the benefits in the years afterwards. We also hope we will open new sales channels for the seafood business, you know, the ones with the higher added value product, the skinless, boneless, for example, sardines, and in countries that have more pricing flexibility than some African countries. And also the Marrakesh fruit juice relaunch will continue and gather steam, hopefully, especially for the PET product. Tetrapak is not bad. We will be launching also a very new family that I'll show you in the next slide for the fruit juice business that will be specifically aimed at kids. EBITDA should more or less, we have an operating leverage, meaning that the fixed costs will not grow as fast as the margin on variable costs, or the, yes. So we expect, if we do 6 to 8% in revenues, we would expect EBITDA to grow about 10% at constant scope, thanks to this favorable operating leverage, i.e. fixed costs. The CapEx that we plan to spend in the existing perimeter, that does not include the new factories that I mentioned, that does not include IPO proceeds, the use of IPO proceeds, but if you take the old perimeter of Mutandis, the total CapEx should be around 60 million dirham, which is more or less what we did last year, between 55 and 60. So we do our best to make sure we don't go way beyond the 60 million dirham in CapEx. And then in 2019, hopefully, we are now conducting, you know, more specific, more precise studies, preliminary studies and figures to launch the factories, the new factories we want to build. So hopefully, we will start, you know, paying the first amounts either for land acquisition or for market studies and for building the first buildings of the factories. If I move to slide 19, to sum up what I just said, revenues were this last year, 2018, 1,367 million dirhams, should grow 6 to 8%. EBITDA was last year 188 million dirham, should grow about 10%, more or less. Recurring net income, i.e. net earnings, excluding non-recurring items, was 78 million dirham last year, should grow between 15 and 25% in 2019, again due to stable amortization cost and lower financial expense. So we have again a leverage here, meaning that net income would grow faster than EBITDA. And if I want to remind you that the total average number of outstanding shares for 2018 was 6.8 million shares. The capital increase really occurred at the very end of the year. So the average outstanding shares for 2018 was basically the number of shares before the IPO, i.e. 6.8 million. And the new number of shares for 2019 is basically the new number of shares immediately after the IPO, as we will have no capital increase during 2019, obviously, and it's 8 million shares. We will have probably a rise in earnings per share, even despite the dilution that happened following the capital increase, but net income should grow faster than the number of shares. And also the fruits of the new investment, additional businesses that we will add thanks to IPO proceeds, will not show at all before 2020 and 2021 as a full year. A final slide to show you the product releases of 2019. You know, Mutandis is all about innovation, new recipes, new packaging, new formulas for the home care product line. The new recipes and the innovation and the new formulas have two targets, two goals. First of all is to stick to the consumer needs, and we do a lot of consumer behavior attitude studies. And the second one is to make sure we keep a constant margin on raw material. So we would typically change the formulas in the home care business or the recipes in the food business in order to accommodate moves and variations in the raw cost prices. So next year will be Josiane in Saudi Arabia, skinless, boneless. Is the full launch, 2 years of studies, market studies, discussions with a distributor, a local distributor in Saudi Arabia, and we hope we can compete against tuna fish with the skinless boneless sardine in Saudi Arabia. And we chose a white packaging because white is the color code for tuna fish in Saudi Arabia. We did not choose the typical color of a sardine can, but a tuna can. We were not really playing in the machine powder in Morocco. We're very strong in the hand powder, very, very strong. But we will try and focus more on the machine powder with the Maxis brand in 2019. We have a beautiful packaging, silver gray, as you can see it in slide 20. And the formula looks good. Consumer acceptance in the initial studies and focus groups is positive. So we're crossing our fingers and hoping we can do a good job with Maxis machine powder. Marine Skinless Boneless was in test in the supermarket hypermarkets in Morocco. Marine will be the brand for Morocco. Josiane is Middle East and Annie is Africa. So Marine Skinless Boneless will now be sold in all supermarkets, not only the 10 or 11 it was being tested in for the second half of 2018. Though we will not put Marine probably in the fleet, in the small mom and pop shop owners until 2020. So 2019 will be Marine in all supermarket hypermarkets, and 2020 will see Marine everywhere. Okay? Vita Kids is a nice little product. It's 200 millimeters. So it's a small format, one serve. It's for kids that can take them to school. As you can see, the packaging is fun, and the product is full of vitamins, and we call it Vita for vitamins and Kids for the kids. And it's obviously under the Marrakesh brand, and we hope it will be quite successful for 2019. With this, I want to conclude by presenting the financial and corporate calendar of Mutandis for 2019. You know, we want to make sure we have a very modern financial communication with all of you gentlemen and ladies. So in 2019, the key dates will be obviously today, 15th of February, where we have our analyst conference here in Morocco in French language with the same slideshow as the one you are now seeing on our website, and I am commenting to you as if you were at our financial analyst conference in Casablanca. April 1st will be the shareholder general meeting to vote on the dividend. 2nd of May we will publish quarterly KPIs, financial KPIs. It's the new regulation is not yet out in Morocco to force us to do so, but we have decided freely to give you indications on a quarterly basis, not a full P&L, not a full balance sheet, but you'll have enough info on the way the quarter is shaping up in terms of revenues, EBITDA, etc. 10th of May will be dividend payments. So it's the best day of the year for all of us shareholders. September 10th will be first half financial result with again a second analyst conference and a second slideshow that I will be commenting in English hopefully. And then the 4th of November we'll have Q3 financial KPIs to be published for you guys. So with this, I am concluding this presentation. Please do feel free to get in touch with us if there is something you want to understand better or go into more details. As you may remember, most of you have met our Chief Financial Officer. Her name is Fatim Mediouni and her email is F as in France. Mediouni is MEDIOUNI at mutandis.com. Do not hesitate to send emails to ask for questions. With this, I wish you a very good day and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.